perspective presented by the New Orleans Secular Humanist Association, following our few principles of humanism.
We're committed to the use of science and reason for understanding the universe and for solving human problems. We're skeptical of untested claims of knowledge, but we're open to new ideas.
We are concerned with securing justice and fairness in society and in ending intolerance and discrimination. We are committed to the total separation of religion and government.
We affirm humanism as a realistic alternative to the theologies of despair and the ideologies of violence. We reject the concept of an afterlife and believe in living a full and rewarding life here and now.
We value and respect each individual's right to judge and lead their lives according to their own position, as long as it's respectful of other people, living in a free society.
We hope you enjoy today's program and others in the weeks to follow. Hello, folks. Thanks very much for being with us again. We have a show that I'm sure will be informational and entertaining and enjoyable. My guests today are Mindy, Milam, and Farhad, Karim, who are here with the SGI-USA. And the first thing I want to ask you is, what is that?
Do you want to answer?
Yeah, sure. Well, thank you guys for having us on the show. The SGI-USA, we're an organization that our mission is to really promote Nichiren Buddhism. Our organization is in 192 countries and territories based out of Japan. And we really promote Nichiren Buddhism as a way for people to what we call transform their lives through using this practice.
And you are with a local group, but how does your local group fit in with the international or the national organization?
The practice is the same throughout the world. This type of Buddhism or sect of Buddhism is spread by the SGI. Our base, you could say, would be in Japan, because Buddhism spread from India through China to Japan. SGI is now, it's just kind of like a movement. It's a worldwide network of people who practice. And even in New Orleans, there's a local community center where members come to practice.
So if a local group wants to then represent this organization, do you have to get some sort of do they have to approve of you? And then what are you, a chapter, or what is it that you are here?
Well, I'll add a little bit more to what Farhad said. SGI-USA is a branch of Soka Gakkai International. So there, as Farhad said, we're in 192 different countries. So within the USA, there's SGI-USA, and then throughout this country, there are various communities in various cities, and so we are part of SGI New Orleans. And yes, there is a chain of affiliation throughout the country and throughout the world.
All right. Now,
we have a community center here at 1331 Prytania Street, so we're at the corner of Prytania and Thalia.
So you have a location, a permanent location for your meetings.
Yes.
How often do you meet, and what sort of size following do you have?
Well, we meet every Sunday morning, except for the Sunday before Mardi Gras weekend, because of our location being near Lee Circle, that it's nearly impossible the Sunday before Mardi Gras to get to our community center. But every Sunday morning at 10, we get together. The first Sunday of every month is called a World Peace Prayer Meeting. And that's the largest meeting of the month.
Okay.
We also have introductory meetings at that community center every Monday night from 7 until 8:30 p.m. I think the community in New Orleans is probably around 400 or 500 people.
Oh, well, that's a large number.
And in addition to meeting at the community center, there are geographical divisions, really worldwide, that are called districts. So in New Orleans, there's a variety of districts determined by geography. So whether it's uptown or whether it's Bywater, mid-city, things like that. Districts meet once a month, so it's a smaller group.
But they meet at your location?
No,
or
mostly we'll meet in a member's residence.
In their own location?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, and then there are different study meetings, and we can say more about that part in a few minutes.
All right. Well, now, one of the reasons I invited you folks here is that I think there are not that many people in this community who understand Buddhism or even know what it is. But there are a variety of Buddhist sects, of which you are one called Nichiren. And I liked what it says in your brochure. It says, Nichiren revealed that Nam-myoho Renge-kyo is the law that permeates all life and the universe. This phrase literally translates as devotion to the mystic law of cause and effect through the Buddha's teaching or sound. Now, how does Nichiren Buddhism differ from other Buddhist sects?
I think there's many differences. I think one of the main differences that sets Nichiren Buddhism apart would be the idea that all people, no matter what your background is, what your experience is, or anything like that, everybody has equal access to manifesting their enlightenment. So we believe that each person's life is actually, I'll just get deep, is one with the universe. So every person has this vast potential. And so when most people think about someone attaining enlightenment, like Shakyamuni Buddha or the Buddha, they might perceive it as some supernatural thing, and this person becomes, radiant and floating in the air or whatever. We look at it from a very practical view, and what Nichiren taught was that you are an enlightened being as you are. It's just a matter of awakening to the truth that's already within your life.
So when you say access to, you mean access within yourself.
Absolutely.
You are not looking for enlightenment from outside of yourself. You're not looking to a supernatural being.
That's definitely correct. That's
well, that sort of makes your group and our group kissing cousins, which is what I say to the Unitarian Church people. I say, we're kissing cousins. So you search within yourself for enlightenment.
Yeah.
And you do it through certain rituals, right? Is that, I mean, do you teach people how to make that search?
That's another thing that separates Nichiren Buddhism from so many different types of Buddhism, is that we believe every person has infinite wisdom and compassion within your own life, and we believe that you can access it by chanting Nam-myoho Renge-kyo. And that's the main practice of Nichiren Buddhism, is chanting Nam-myoho Renge-kyo, which I'm sure we'll explain at the right time what that means in itself.
I guess I would appreciate your doing that. Now, let me say this. I have some familiarity with your sect because I have a cousin who lives in New York, a good Jewish girl who became a Nichiren Buddhist. And on one of my visits there, she took me to a meeting with the chanting.
Oh, cool.
And so I have that much exposure, but that's about as far as it goes. So tell me more about using Nam-myoho Renge-kyo and the chanting, and how does all of that work?
So part of what we believe, as Farhad said, is that every person has this unlimited potential. We also have parts of ourselves that doubt that or don't see it, that we may be depressed, we may struggle with self-esteem, have doubts. And so we believe that through chanting Nam-myoho Renge-kyo, we wake up, we activate the part of ourselves that's already there, our wisdom, our strength, our compassion, our courage, and that we, just like if you called my name, Farhad's not going to answer, Mindy's going to answer.
Yes.
That we believe that the name of the mystic law is Myoho Renge-kyo. So when we're chanting...
You repeat that over
Yes.
and over and over.
Yes.
Now, is that anything like self-hypnosis?
I don't think so, because the goal in self-hypnosis, the goal may be to say quit smoking, and we may use chanting to quit smoking.
Okay.
But
it's to get into an unconscious level. Self-hypnosis is to get into some part of your mind that you are not presently conscious of. Now, is that what you are doing also?
Well, I would say that when I chant, I sit down with the consciousness that I have this potential. Just like if I'm going to use my car, I have to put a key in the ignition to start it. We believe that chanting is the action that activates that potential and strengthens it. And it's not to say that people can't be wise or strong who don't chant, but that it strengthens it even more, because we're putting ourselves in rhythm with that law in the universe as well as in ourselves.
Now, when you want to do that particular chant,
yes,
how many times must you repeat it to get into that part of your mind that you want to get to?
Well, we would say to that there's no must, that there's no rule outside of us that says you have to chant 20 minutes a day or 5 minutes a day.
Okay.
You'll know inside of yourself. If I'm really struggling with something, I may chant for 2 hours at a time to really try to strengthen that part of me. There's a quote that Nichiren wrote in a letter to a follower where he talked about our minds become clouded with delusion, and that the act of chanting is like polishing a mirror so that we can clearly see ourselves and our potential. So we practice this chanting, and that's not all of our practice, but that, as Farhad said, is a foundation of our practice. We chant as much as we want, depending on what it is we're working toward.
Now, if a person has not studied Buddhism, has not studied the Nichiren thing, but has been told you do this chant, Nam Myoho Renge Kyo, and you can get to a level in your mind that will be helpful to overcome problems or whatever. Can you do it without any other background, just having been told this is how you can get there? Will that work, or do they really need to study it and come to your meetings and learn more about it?
I'm going to say one thing quickly, and then I want Farhad to talk, because I could talk the whole time, and I'm going to work on not doing that. You know, there's another quote that Nichiren said to a follower that said that Nam Myoho Renge Kyo is like strong medicine or like a mother's breast milk. You don't have to understand it to gain the benefit from it. Having said that, of course, the more you study something and understand it, the more thoroughly you can apply it in your life. And another part of our practice that I know we'll say more about is sharing it with other people. That we believe in the interconnectedness of all of us. And so I can't truly achieve happiness in my lifetime if you're suffering. And
if someone else is suffering.
Right. Because
not
we're all
yourself.
connected.
In other words, for you to have true happiness, you cannot watch other people suffer without doing something about it.
Something.
All right.
Because we're all interconnected. This is not a selfish. It's not just, this practice isn't just about my own enlightenment, me achieving what I want in my life. It's our goal is world peace through the happiness of every person.
All right. Now, as I told you, I went to a meeting where there was group chanting. Tell me about that.
Well, what part about the group chanting?
Well, as I recall, there was a leader who would chant certain phrases, and then the whole group would chant something. It was really hypnotic for me. It was really hypnotic. But what's going on there? Is that something you do at your location?
So with the chanting, you know, you can chant either by yourself or with a group of people. And what we're doing is we believe that there's different energy that every person has, and that by chanting you can bring out, like Mindy was saying, your strongest energy. And so we call that life force. And so through chanting, what we're doing is, you know, we chant Nam Myoho Renge Kyo with real confidence and conviction that I am a Buddha, that my life is one with this mystic law. And when you chant with that type of conviction, you'll see naturally you start to feel more confident. You start to become more confident. And what Buddhism really explains clearly is how you're connected with your environment. So when you make chanting a regular practice in your life, just like exercise, you start to see changes in your environment, because we believe that the environment is actually a reflection of your own life. And this can be a huge leap for people, conditioned in the Western thinking, to see, that my individual life is somehow connected with, the other people around me and the environment. But you'll see when you start chanting that you can really impact just through the energy that you bring. You can influence other people around you. And our president of the organization, Daisaku Ikeda, who we look to as a teacher and mentor, he always says, one of his famous quotes is that one person can transform the destiny of the entire humankind.
That's an impressive idea.
That, just
right.
the ripple effect, that even the smallest things that we might not be aware of or mindful of can impact so many things around us. And that when you chant and make it a steady practice, not just a chanting, but supporting other people, studying, and challenging yourself, it's a very action-based practice. That when you're doing all these different components, you can really transform your environment, no matter how difficult it might be.
And I want to add
Yes.
your question. Our practice is based on the Lotus Sutra. So the original Buddha Shakyamuni wrote many sutras. And the Lotus Sutra basically says 2 points.
Tell me what a sutra is.
A writing, a teaching.
Oh, okay, go ahead.
And so the Lotus Sutra says, 1, every person can attain enlightenment, as Farhad said, which is, for me as a woman, really important, because there's some sects of Buddhism that still have differences in what genders do. So in our organization, every person is equal. So we believe, that's one of y'all's core values, I know, in the inherent dignity and equality of all people. So that would also make us related.
Yes.
And the other is that we can attain enlightenment, as we described it, this state of vast wisdom and courage and compassion. We can attain that in this lifetime. So part of our practice every day is chanting, but also we recite 2 chapters from the Lotus Sutra, which is probably what you witnessed, where someone will be leading the recitation, and the person leading, there are a couple of sentences that they say that the group doesn't say, but then everyone recites together.
Yes.
And we do that practice every morning and every evening. So it's a very diligent practice.
When you say you do it, you mean at home?
At home
personally.
or together at meetings.
But many of you will have your own little
Altars.
altar at home,
Yes.
and
Yes.
and you go to that every
Yes.
day.
Yes.
Now, as I read in your material, the Nam-myoho Renge-kyo is a translation.
Yes.
From what? From what language is that?
Chinese and Sanskrit.
And so the other things that are chanted at your meetings could be translated to an English
Yes, we have the
meaning.
translation available. We just
All right.
recite it in the same language, because this originated in Japan. We're actually reciting it.
So
Yes.
a person at your group meetings
Yes.
would have the English translation of what they're chanting.
Yes. Yes.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, that also is quite interesting to me. Now, my cousin told me you can chant for anything you want.
Yes.
And if it is not harmful, to yourself or others,
Yes.
you can get it.
Mm-hmm.
Do you agree with that?
I think that's a complicated question, because, sir, this is not magic. We don't believe that chanting is magic. And sometimes that's people's assumption when they hear, chant for anything and you'll get it. Well, if I chant, I want to win the lottery tonight, but I don't buy a ticket, for example, I'm not going to win it. And Buddhism
and if you buy a ticket, you probably won't
win it either. Because
okay.
Look at the odds, and that's what I was going to say. Buddhism is also based on reason, on practicality, on efforts. So if I'm chanting for a job, but if I'm not taking the action, if I'm not doing anything to support what I'm chanting for, it's not going to manifest, most likely, in the same way it would if my action is congruent with my goal. So this is, as Farhad said, a very engaged Buddhism. We believe in taking action. We believe in cause and effect. So if I'm chanting, actually, if you talk to any member who practices, who really uses the practice, we all have many, many, many experiences that teach us I do have profound influence over my life. And that's part of the purpose of this practice, to help people understand. When Farhad said our environment is a reflection of us, that through chanting, we believe that we activate our wisdom so we know the best next step to take toward our goal, and we align ourselves with this invisible, this unseen rhythm that's going on in the universe, so that one of the things I chant for every day is to help SGI become more visible in this community.
I see.
Because we're a small, relatively small group of people.
Well, I hope this program's going to help you with that.
So I chant for that. You contacted us.
All right.
That would be an example of something I chanted for that is happening in this form. And I believe it happened for all kinds of reasons that you decided to contact us.
But generally, would you say if you're chanting for something, the chanting takes you to a level of your mind that gives you a greater insight as to what you need to do to accomplish it? Would that describe what's going on?
I've found many times where I'll be chanting for something, and we do encourage, whatever it is that you want to chant for it, because there's no limit to what you can do as a person, because your life is so powerful. Every person's life is so powerful. But I have found many times, like you just explained, that through chanting for something, you do gain insight, and we say you're tapping into your Buddha wisdom, that is just like infinite reservoir of knowledge, wisdom that you already possess, that you can access it, tap into it. And I've come up with so many just ideas or connections while chanting. It's you could almost say it's a form of meditation, where when you're chanting, you will get these different ideas. And I know I tell people all the time that if I'm chanting about some sort of challenge or something I'm trying to figure out, and while chanting, I always seem to get this amazing idea, just connection, that seems to come out when I'm chanting. So we really believe that, a lot of different philosophies or religions will encourage people to, look outside yourself, or go, talk to a priest or somebody, some authoritative figure, to gain insights about different problems or challenges. We always encourage everybody, and it's kind of the premise of Nichiren Buddhism, is that you have everything you need already to attain real deep, lasting happiness.
All right, I hear what you're saying, and you're saying the wisdom is in there. But is this more effective for mature people who've had time to gain some wisdom, or is it just as effective for a young person?
Definitely, there's no age. Yeah, everybody. No age requirements. And we all have 6-year-olds talking about chanting to get an A at school, or because they've had a fight with a friend, or they want a new pet.
All right, I have another question. Could a person who follows a traditional religion and believes in that particular faith, can they also be your kind of Buddhist? I mean, how does that? There is some discrepancy there between believing that God makes all the decisions and believing that you make them yourself. So how can that work?
We wouldn't say to someone, you have to forego another religion in order to become a practitioner of Nichiren Buddhism. I think their personal challenge would be how they reconcile an external being that has authority over their lives or influences their lives versus what we believe. We do not believe in anything outside of us controlling our destinies in any way.
I understand, but why wouldn't that religious person have to relinquish their faith in, you know, in a superior being in order to get the advantages of chanting.
Well, we believe that chanting is a natural law. How do I say it? It's accessing a natural law that exists in our lives already, that there is a rhythm in ourselves and in the universe, that whatever your beliefs are, that if you chant, we believe it will be activated. So it's not only activated once you become one of our members and then you receive this special power. We think this potential is inherently in every person. What many people of other faiths have found, because in fact, most of us didn't grow up as Nichiren Buddhist. We grew up exposed to other religions, and what many people found is that when they started chanting, they saw absolute proof, and that's another thing that we encourage people to do. Test it. Test it with an open mind. You know, if you sit there and chant saying this isn't going to work, this isn't going to work, we believe in cause and effect. So, you know, test it with an open mind. But many people have found, even though they held at one time beliefs about another religion, that through chanting and through changing their life condition and seeing practical, measurable changes in their lives, they decided this really does work.
Well, now the people who come to your meetings, and I assume they come with some regularity, and I'm also assuming they come because they feel like they're getting results. Do you have people who say to you, well, I've tried it, I've been doing it, I'm not getting anything out of it? Do you have people like that, and what do you do with them?
Do you want to say something?
Sure. I mean, if you're practicing correctly in terms of chanting, taking action, and supporting others, you will see proof. You will see results. It's like Mindy was explaining, just like the law of gravity. It's there. We believe the law of cause and effect is something that's there regardless if you see it or can touch it or believe in it or not. It's going to be there. So what you're doing when you're chanting is you're aligning your life with this mystic law of the universe, similar to when you tune a guitar chord or a string.
Yes, but when someone says it's not working for me, what do you do?
We believe that in life there are times that we are encountering obstacles. Our motto is never give up. So if you said this isn't working, what we would say is keep doing it until it does, because we have absolute faith it will.
I see.
And of course, you know, I know our time is limited and this is a huge topic, but
yes.
Karma comes into play of why things happen at certain times.
Mindy, our time is up. I thank you both for being here today.
Thank you.
We thank you folks for watching our show. Come back often.